right, what up, what up, what up? It is that guy Dub, and I'm back with another video. How you guys doing at the end of the day, shouty? I'm good money. Now today, we've got a brother of mine. He's a really good brother of mine. You saying like you want to know anything to know about cars? You saying about the Sudsy We So company? He's gonna teach you how to wash your butt with bacon. Welcome to the show, my brother, Big Mark G. What's going on, brother?
Hey, how you doing, Dub? Thank you very much for having me on today.
Hey, not a problem, brother. You said it's a pleasure to have you on. So, what you got going on in your life right now?
Uh, Not a lot. We've I started a new job here a few months ago.
Mhm.
Uh, those that may not know, I was in a pretty bad wreck here a couple of years ago, and still kind of dealing with some of that, with some physical limitations. This new job, it's a tremendous opportunity with a new chemical company that I'm working for in Medina, and it's a lot less physically demanding. But it's got a lot of benefits, and really blessed to. It's a fantastic opportunity for myself and our family just to kind of make the most out of the years and the health that I have left, and it's fantastic. Other than that, um, still been doing some work in wrestling, doing some announcing and things like that. And at the end of last year, I was still announcing at the racetrack, but that was my last year with the racetrack, so I'm not announcing with them this year. I kind of missed that, but um, as you know, Christy and I bought a home finally at the end of last year, and we've really had to focus on uh, uh, putting our home together, and it's been a just we've been very, very blessed here this last year to kind of turn some things around, and uh making making the most out of life, very
Hey,
much so.
nothing wrong with that. And was congratulations on the home.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm using still learning how to use all these buttons. You know, I got buttons and stuff over here now. So
What's that?
I said I got buttons and stuff over here now. So when I say congratulations on the home, I hit the applause thing. You said trying to
I
do it
got
like
you.
Timbuktu. You see?
Meh, 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 meh.
Man,
Right.
man, man, man. Shout out to our good brother Timbuktu.
Oh,
Now, you said you mentioned you were saying about announcing at the racetrack. You said it's like, is there you what's like feeling do you get out of announcing at the racetrack, and then also how do you compare announcing at the racetrack to announcing in wrestling?
at the racetrack, it was pretty involved. You don't To be prepared to ready to go for a race night. There's a lot of work that goes with that, because I was helping with their social media promoting every week. They did a live every week, was helping and contributing with that. Along with that was talking with sponsors, potential sponsors, soliciting for everything from money to services, whatever we could do to just make the experience better for not only the racers but the fans as well. Also, being a former racer, uh, talking with a lot of the racers. Matter of fact, as you can see, I'm actually wearing a shirt of one of the guys that still race there. Shout out to the Flying Bullet, Rich DeWitt Jr.
Okay.
In the Pure Stack division. Talking with them, seeing what's going on, their new sponsors, what's going on with their cars. That it's pretty involved. It's basically like taking on a whole nother job to work at the racetrack. So a lot of that preparatory work just happens throughout the week whenever you have time, and it all comes together Saturday night. You're as the announcer, you're one of the first people there at the track,
Mhm.
sound checking, getting everything ready, and you're one of the very last to leave. You're doing your post race interviews down on the track when the features are over, and you're basically turning the lights off on your way out. So,
Right.
um, you certainly don't do it for the money. You do it for the love of the sport and the love of just that racing family, because there's truly some wonderful people that I've been very blessed to meet over many years of being involved in racing and demolition derby, and just being with them there at the track and watching it all come together. And likewise too with the fans. The fans they're very passionate. You know, when you're trying to figure out where you're going to spend your hard-earned money, for entertaining your family, you decide you want to go to the racetrack. You know, it's always great to engage the fans too. You know, one of the very popular things at Sandusky Speedway, where I worked, was autograph. You know, we would take an intermission prior to the features. The fans would come out onto the racetrack, meet their drivers, and you know, it was always great to engage the fans, especially one of the things Richie was known for was they had an enormous tub of candy, and they were always passing out candy and pictures for the kids.
That's
and
awesome.
I remember what that was like when I was a kid. You know, to go to the racetrack on a Saturday night and to meet your hero, and they would take a couple of minutes, you know, pick you up, set you down inside the race car, talk to you, maybe sign your program. It was always just a great experience. And I remembered that going into being a driver for a number of years, driving stock cars and demolition derby. Anytime a kid would come up, I don't care how busy you were with the car, you take 5 minutes, and because they remember that. And it's all part of the experience of giving to the fans. Because if it's not for the fans, you're not there.
Exactly.
Conversely, to prep for a wrestling show is completely different, because when you show up at the venue for a wrestling show, a lot of times with the independent promotions, it just kind of depends on what they're doing. Now, if it's somebody that you worked with previously, you know the talent, you know what they're doing as far as with their talent. So, you know, you can kind of roll what you did at the last show, roll it into this show. And what I've always enjoyed about wrestling and being around wrestling for 20 years, it was taught to me very early that your wrestling persona is nothing more than an extension of yourself. Just turn that volume up real loud. And it's been a pleasure to work at these shows and to creatively interact with talent and to interact with the fans, because wrestling fans are very, very passionate about the business. They're very passionate about what they're there to see. And if you get that moment to engage them during the show, there's just nothing like it. It's so much fun to grab a live mic and just engage the crowd and just it's so much fun. You know, you did your job if they're either cheering or they're throwing their popcorn at you. Either way, it doesn't matter. You did your job, and at the end of the night, that's what it's all about.
Right. Because I've actually been to a few events. It's not as many as I'd like. But schedule permits. From when I can go, when I can't. You said you're awesome. It's like you've done your thing. Now I want to switch gears for a quick little second while it's on my brain, because I freestyle my interview, so like whatever comes to my brain, I just want to get it out. Okay. Sure. Anybody that knows you know that you're basically an encyclopedia Britannica of cars.
Oh, I've been a car guy for a long, long time. Yes.
Right. Well, just here recently, I believe in Chicago, you said a guy by the name of Playboy Jeezy, who's really big into like the big wheel racing. He's got yes. I think I've sent you his car before, the 86 Cutlass with twin turbos with the stacks coming out the front.
Yes, I remember that.
Yes, well, him and another big wheel racer by the name of Dunkmaster, we're at an event called Chi-Town Show and Go over the weekend. And it was a car show, and I guess Dunkmaster and the Playboy Jeezy, they planned on racing.
Okay.
Well, halfway through the show, it rained, but they still wanted to put on the show for the fans, and Playboy Jeezy totaled his Cutlass. Not even a half a second off the line.
Oh, no.
So, So as a car guy, you said like because I get you wanting to put on a show for the fans, but if it started raining, aren't you going to reschedule that race?
Well, absolutely. Um, it's been my experience, especially with asphalt racing. Um, we will make every attempt to dry the track and make it safe for competition.
Mm,
But there comes that point of no return. And once you cross that point of no return to where you can expediently get the race surface ready and safe for competition,
mm,
once you cross that point, put them in the trailer, boys. Tomorrow's another day. It's not worth risking anybody's safety just for the purpose of getting a show in. Now, my experience with drag racing is very, very limited, so I
mm,
don't know a lot about that. I know their surface prep is way more involved in drag racing
mm,
because of the amount of chemical prep and then dragging the rubber into the race surface. There's a lot of prep that goes into drag racing that in circle track you don't necessarily have.
mm,
But I would have to imagine, based on my experience, that yeah, you would. Discretion is the better part of valor. The last thing you would ever want is to get someone hurt just for the sake of trying to get a show in. So no, if it rained that much, and I'm sure with the in drag, they have jet dryers and track brooms and things like that.
mm.
You can get a surface to a point, but when that particular car you talking about, that's not your typical street car. That thing is well in excess of 700 horsepower, and
Oh,
trying to get that thing to hook up with those big wheels, there's a lot of science involved with that. So if that surface isn't 100%, it's never going to end well. Uh, now, I hope he wasn't hurt and all that, but unfortunately, um, wadding up a $100,000+ car, uh, yeah, that's I'm sure somebody had some explaining to do after at the end of all that.
oh, definitely. But you said once we get off here, I'm definitely going to send you the video. You said
Yeah.
thankfully Playboy Jeezy walked away. He was fine. You said the Cutlass is built with a you said a full roll cage on the inside,
Hmm.
and basically he just did a 180 and hit the wall. But he's okay. He
Uh,
was able to walk away. But like I said, you've seen that car, and you're right. It's well over $100,000 car.
yes.
so so twin
Um,
turboed out. Yeah.
now, now, conversely, there is another aspect to that too, and that is, as a car owner and driver, ultimately you're the captain of your ship.
Mhm.
So at some point, he must have made a judgment call and thought that the surface was, in good enough condition that the car was going to hook, and unfortunately, it wasn't.
Mhm.
Um, as a matter of fact, I can even remember a time back when Dale Earnhardt Sr. was still alive. They were at, I want to say, Daytona, and a rain shower was beginning to move into the track during qualifying. Well, they sent Jeff Gordon, who at that time was a very young rookie driver, they sent him out to check the track.
Mhm.
And the TV crews are interviewing Earnhardt down on pit road, and they're like, "Well, what do you think about Jeff Gordon going out on there?" Well, if he was smart, he'd bring that car on pit road and park it. And no sooner than that came out of his mouth, Gordon loses control because the track had enough moisture on it in turn three, loops the car around and wads up
Oh,
a brand new race car and just totals it, to go out and check the track. No, and he was upset. He was mad at himself because young guy, he was trying to make an impression and totaled a very expensive race car. So yeah, sometimes, like I said, discretion's the better part of valor. You just want to, nah,
right.
we're just gonna leave it on the trailer, guys.
You said no, like giving a little bit of explanation about Dunk Master. You said like you remember you said let's give a huge shout out and you said rest in peace to Ken Block. You said
Yes.
you said that he was a legend in the racing world. You said it just all kinds of wild stuff that he would do, and you've seen like he would just wow us at so many times. It's like he had a series on YouTube called Hoonigan versus the World, and
Yes.
he said like there's one episode where he actually raced Dunk Master, and the Dunk Master.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'll have to see that one too because it was actually a pretty decent episode. Because that big old, he said 75 Caprice, it was no match for the Hoonigan, but it got down the road.
Yeah. And Ken Block, rest in peace to him. What a phenomenally talented guy. Just an encyclopedia of car control. To watch him in a drift car, in a rally car, just he could do things that would make you double take. No, he didn't. Yeah, he did. He was just a gifted driver. Unfortunately gone way too soon.
Definitely.
But some of the things that he's done throughout the course of his career were amazing. Some of those flat spin jumps that he did in the rally car, and like you brought up about the hooligan, that, oh my God, that Mustang. Jeez, what a land-bound missile. I think that thing was like 1,200 horsepower. That thing was a beast.
That's to the wheel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a bit. But yeah, that was truly, the motorsports world definitely lost a real talented guy when I don't remember exactly. I think he passed away from, was it a snowmobile accident?
I believe it was a snowmobile accident.
Yeah, I believe it was. Yeah, it was truly sad.
Yes, definitely. Now you said reiterating and you said and giving your props because you just like we became kindred spirits when it came to one, wrestling, and then two, with the cars. You said I mentioned these. Hey, why don't you come down to Canton? They do a lot of pull up in parks. Used to where a bunch of people they bring, you name it, they bringing it out. And literally, we're out there with me, you, and Lex, and we're out there, and of course, Redneck Garage. Shout out to RNG Performance, by the way. But you said we're out there with the camera, and you are literally from the nose to the tail to every nut and bolt in between. You know what it does, where it goes, why it's there.
Well, and to give you a little background with that, for those watching that may not know me, I grew up in a family with a stepbrother and an older brother. They were tremendously gifted athletes. My brother was a state qualifying cross country runner. Was a very gifted athlete. My stepbrother was a football player, baseball player. I was never an athlete. I just, my forte was, and my safe haven was the garage. I would go out, I'm Gen X, I'm 50 years old. My GoFundMe was, I waited for spring trash cleanup. I'd walk around, find people throwing away lawnmowers. I would drag them home into my garage at 8, 9, 10 years old, get them running, and then I would use those to mow people's yards to make money so I could go-kart racing that summer. That was my GoFundMe back in the day.
Right. That's awesome.
But that was just that. Cars and working on cars just became a way of life for me. Growing up, we didn't have a lot of money. And I remember the one summer vacation from school, I spent it with my godparents, my Uncle Glenn and Aunt Rita. And that was by the request of my uncle. Because I had a lot of problems growing up as a kid. I used to get into a lot of fights and I didn't people well as a kid. I was kind of a pain in the butt.
I like that term. I'm gonna have to use that. I don't people well.
No. And so I went up and I spent a summer with my uncle. And what we did was we tore apart a 1979 Datsun 210. It was a little hatchback, a little two-door. We tore the car apart, rebuilt the engine, did all the body work, painted it, And at the end of the summer, we gave it back to my mom. So my mom had a nice car to drive, because at the time we had this old Torino that was falling apart, ran on 7 cylinders. This car belonged at a junkyard, but my mom was using that to get back and forth to work every day. My uncle had that Datsun, and that was my really big initiation into learning how to work on cars. He was a mechanic for the state of Ohio. So he would leave me a list every morning. I was out of bed 6:30 every morning. Whether you like it or not, you're up, Holmes. And I had a list of what I had to do on the car. And by the time he would come home 5:30 in the evening, I'm out in that garage all day work. But I had no idea that at the end we were giving that car to my mom. And at the end of the summer, it was a real sense of satisfaction to load that car up on his trailer, and he brought me home we put a red bow on the roof of the car and gave it to my mom. And I have a very fond place in my heart for my godparents, because for a lot of reasons. But from there, that planted the seed, and throughout all the years, I've when time and money allowed, Lord only knows what was laying in the garage. I've had hot rods, everything from station wagons to you name it. I drag it home for next to nothing, and I used to go fast on grocery money, and that was my vice. I don't smoke, I don't drink. My bad habit is cars. And,
That's not a bad habit to have.
no, it's not. And my soon to be fiance Christy will definitely testify to the fact that cars are my bad habit. She's like, she made the comment to me when we were first dating. She's like, it's weird. I have to get used to you. I said, how's that? I said, well, some men, when they're scrolling and they're very intent looking on their phone, they're looking at pictures of women and bikini models and stuff like that. You're over there looking on Marketplace trying to buy car parts that we can't afford, but you got to have. And I said, my bad, babe. It's a disease. You knew the risks. It was in the fine print. So
you see, that's like awesome. Just because, like I said, just the genius you have. You saying like when it comes to cars, and then you saying circling back to you said like what you said building the car to give to your mom. Like that almost seems like a real life Mr. Miyagi moment. You know what I mean? Because you said you didn't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
my family, especially my godparents, they were very much like that. He was a Vietnam War veteran. He was part of he was part of the airborne division. His job, he was a scout sniper demolitions expert. He was the first one out of the helicopter and was going ahead of the platoon. So he had quite a bit of experience in that, and it wasn't something that he talked about. But to get to know him and to understand him, everything he did had a purpose.
mm-hmm.
And because none of us are made of money, if you didn't have it, you built it. You went out in the scrap pile and you figured it out. His dad, my grandfather, was a farmer. Mm-hmm. And, as a farmer, you don't go to the parts store and get parts for this or parts for that. No, you fire up an oxyacetylene torch, you cut the steel out, you form it, you weld it, and you make what you need, and you go to work. And, you break something, you fix it. Mm-hmm. It was all about being resourceful. And my uncle taught me a lot about that. He taught me about how to be resourceful in the garage. It's easy to call up Summit and order this and order that, but you know as well as I know, that takes money. It takes a lot of money.
Yeah.
But when you can improvise, overcome, and adapt, and make the most out of what you have, that's an altogether different ballgame. And I was very fortunate and blessed to learn from him, to learn from a couple other of my friends that are no longer here either. One of my real dear close personal friends that passed away, his name was Tim Ensign, multi-time track champion in basically anything he ever drove. When I met him when I was 17, I was on a very bad path in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he kind of recognized that. I kind of wandered into his shop one night there in Norwalk behind the Dodge dealer. And we got to talking, and I just asked, hey, would you have, room on your team for, a rookie crewman?
Mm-hmm.
And without hesitation, he's like, yeah, absolutely. And between him and his dad, they were the ones that taught me about stock car racing. And at 17, it gave me a whole new purpose, a direction, and it turned me from the direction I was on. And I've made the statement to a lot of people. I said, at that time, racing was what saved my life, because I know what was going to be the end result of me at some point, and it wasn't going to be a good one. Tim and his father, Dick, taught me how to build a race car from nothing more than a bare frame that we brought back from a junkyard, and started with a pile of tubing, an engine block, and a frame. And 3 months later, there is a stock car ready to hit the racetrack. And I was very blessed to meet them at that time in my life. And another good dear friend of mine who was killed, Tony Burke, him and his father, Richard, taught me about dirt racing and dirt stock cars and sprint cars. And Tony, coincidentally, was my partner in crime in Demolition Derby. Him and I traveled 4 different states in Demolition Derby, running big shows and just having the time of our lives, destroying cars, and the friendships that we made throughout all those years. And I miss them both. They were great guys. They're gone way too soon. But yeah. So that was where finding my purpose in life and finding, something that I could actually excel at, because like I said, I really wasn't much of an athlete. I mean, I did some MMA fighting, but I mean, that really wasn't for me. When I got involved in wrestling, I started training as a wrestler.
Okay.
But I figured out that I wasn't good at it. You know what I mean? When you get to that point in life where you got to look yourself in the mirror and say, you gotta answer the hard question. And okay, yeah, so this isn't really for me. But what I transitioned into with announcing and that type of, being like a manager or something like that, it was more fitting, because then I could use personality and what I lacked in athletic ability. So
Right. You said no. You mentioned realizing certain things that you're not good at. You said it's not necessarily that you're not necessarily good at it. Just like sometimes you are not good at it, but sometimes you're like, yeah, this is not for me. You said like we both come from we both know about truck driving. You said
yes.
you give me a 53-foot dry van, and you're saying I'm good to go. You said like, well, we're gonna need you to pull a flatbed and tarp that down. Not for me. I'm good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And the trucking industry has been very good to me for almost 20, what now? 20, 27 years. Gosh, I am getting old. Uh, the trucking industry has been very good to me. I've been very fortunate to do a number of things in the trucking industry throughout the course of my career to provide for my family. Um, you're talking about flatbed. You know, I did my tour of duty, pulling a flatbed, hauling building materials. The one winter when I was laid off from an LTL company, at that time I was married and had found out that my wife was diagnosed with MS.
Oh man.
And so laid off, have a new house to pay for, and no job. I quickly kind of started making some phone calls, and that winter I flew up to Canada and went to work for a company called Toledo Landtran. And I spent the 2004 winter up on the Canadian Ice Road, and I ran double 48-foot flatbeds hauling drill pipe to the diamond mine in Inuvik. And what an amazing experience that was, to first of all be operating this almost 200,000 pound commercial vehicle, and you're driving on 18 inches of ice going across the Arctic Ocean at 15 miles an hour. I've never felt cold like that until on a good day, it was minus 25 degrees Fahrenheit. At night, it would get down to like minus 50, minus 55. And that was actual temperature. That wasn't you factor in the wind chill. Oh my gosh. So, but it was an amazing experience to learn how to overcome the environment and operate safely, because in the end, you're there to do a job. And I was very grateful that job provided for us until the LTL company that I was laid off from called me back to work. And learned a lot. One of the things I was very blessed in the trucking industry was some of the people that I learned from as when I went to work at Schneider National up in Green Bay, Wisconsin. At the time, they had an amazing driver training program. I had never driven a truck before, so the only thing I had ever driven was my grandfather's dump truck, hauling grain around the farm. Right. But the guy, the one driver trainer that I had, he was like, well, if there's one thing you need to learn about the trucking industry right now, and that is you need to learn something new every day. Because at the moment you think you know it all is the day you become dangerous, and you better get the hell out of that truck, because you're going to kill yourself or somebody else.
Right. And
boy, have I seen that more than once. And in retrospect, I've been very grateful. Even with the accident I had at work a couple years ago, I really couldn't see myself doing much of anything else. I truly enjoy the trucking industry. It's had a lot of changes, though. A lot of changes. You see it just as much as I do. But it's still an amazing industry to provide for your family. It truly is. It's been a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you said like we're gonna still keep talking about this, but I've kind of got beat up in the comment section of a video on YouTube where this I guess this lady, she was basically breaking down the story of what happened with that young lady in Alabama. He said where she allegedly faked her own kidnapping or whatever. I'm pretty sure you kind of.
Yeah, I'm vaguely familiar with that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I've been getting beat up in the comment section. Of course, I don't care. I don't care because I'm here for it. Bring it. But I said something that you said only a driver would understand. I was like, now I've been a long haul driver for a long time. Now I've seen a lot of shit on the road. You saying I've seen adults, I've seen children, I've seen animals. And usually if you see something on the side of the road that's not supposed to be there, it's time to park it.
Yeah.
Period. And they
Yeah.
was like, oh, you don't know? He's like, dude, I've been doing this almost 20 years. How the hell are you going to tell me what the hell I know? You said it's like,
Yeah.
but it's always keyboard warriors that think they know more than you. And
Well,
I didn't even say anything bad about the girl. I'm just saying, if you do
yeah.
see something on the road, it's time to park it.
Yes. Yes, very much so. And it's amazing those I digress. Because there's a lot of people that have the misconception that those in the transportation industry is that it's a non-skilled labor. And all you do is just sit there and hold the steering wheel. I'm going to be honest, that couldn't be any further from the truth. Being in the transportation industry is very much so a skilled labor on a multiple of levels, from fatigue management to concentration to attention span to the ability to work 14, 15 hours at a time in less than desirable conditions, and stress management, time management. There is so much that goes into our industry that I truly don't think people really and truly understand until they're on this side of it. And I'll give you an example. My brother, my older brother, he was working for a furniture factory. They closed down. So he decided that he wanted to become a driver. My brother suffers from not only ADHD, but he is also dyslexic. And I pleaded and begged him, please don't pursue this. This is not the industry for you. It's just not. Oh, I can do it. I can do it. And he's my older brother, so he's not going to listen to young brother. What do I know? At the time, I had only been driving for, close to 20 years. What do I know? I'm stupid. Well, he went out, got a CDL through a trucking school, and went to work for a very well-known over-the-road company. And he had a driver trainer with him. And he was out for maybe a week and a half, and he's telling me all about how he is just killing it out here. Oh man, that I never realized how easy this was, and blah blah blah. I was like, bro, you really need to reevaluate your position and listen to your driver trainer. You're just not in the right mindset for this at all. The very next day, he was in a metro area, and thankfully his driver trainer had a suicide pedal on the passenger side. Suicide pedal is a secondary brake where the trainer can actually physically stop the truck in an emergency situation, because when you're training a new driver, sometimes things happen that may be beyond their scope, so the trainer will step in and either slow the truck down or stop it. Well, my brother's just blah, 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 blah. His mouth is running faster than the wheels are turning. And the driver trainer just finally looked at him and said, are you planning on stopping? And my brother said, for what? He was completely oblivious to the fact that traffic less than a half a mile in front of him was at a dead stop for a construction zone, and he was bearing down on him at 65 miles an hour. Jesus. The guy hit the brake, stopped the truck, and my brother got a bus ticket home. And that was the last time he was, thankfully, ever behind the wheel of a commercial vehicle.
Wow.
Yeah, the trucking industry it's I truly hate that perception of it, because I believe it's a bit convoluted. If you ever think that it's not a skilled trade, I would more than invite anyone to get in a truck with me or any other quality, competent driver.
I've got 20 years under my belt. Bring it on.
Yeah, absolutely. Put your butt in the seat and let's go for a ride. And I will take you for a day and show you what it's like to be a professional driver. And it is yeah, it's
You see, one thing
I'll
is funny.
change that opinion quickly.
Absolutely. Now, one thing is funny to me. Like I'll hear these kids. Oh, I'm such a great driver. I'm like, son, I've got more miles going backwards than you got going forwards. Knock
Oh,
it
for
off.
real.
It's like, okay, like until you've been able to maneuver a 53-foot trailer reverse U-turn to
Yeah,
alley dock around a wall that shouldn't be, a truck should not be there, but we still have to make these docks happen so people can get
yep.
their goods. Until you've done something like that, or two, you've literally, you said, blindside back into a building
Hmm.
off a busy street downtown Chicago. Don't tell me about driving, dude.
Absolutely. Yeah. And navigating through metro areas with low bridges and traffic congestion and streets that were built back in 1935 when trucks were only 40-foot long and now they're 80-foot long. How do you navigate those? Very carefully. Uh, yeah, the perception of the industry being a non-skilled labor couldn't be any further from the truth.
Mhm.
And let's not forget, stores don't take a day off. Just because it's snowing and you got, 8-10 inches of snow on the ground doesn't mean that delivery, oh, that could wait another day. Now I will say there's no load of freight worth hurting yourself or somebody else over. You're the captain of the ship. If the conditions are not safe, obviously you park. But there's also plenty of nights where you earn that money. You earn that money getting through the snow, getting through the rain, the fog, and navigate. That's all part of the industry. And um, what's sad is you don't hear about the driver that has 3.5, 4 million safe miles at the end of a 40-year career. You never hear about them. There's plenty that retire out there, but you never hear their fanfare. They never get their flowers.
No.
What you hear about is the guy that was, 2 weeks behind on his logbook that ran over, a family of 5 and tragically killed them because he was being irresponsible and unprofessional.
Yeah.
It's sad. I truly hate that because there is a tremendous amount of good in our industry. You just don't ever see it or hear it because oh, that's that big slow truck that's in my way that's holding up traffic, and the stereotypes. You hear those perceptions all the time.
Oh yeah.
So what do you do?
Like one thing I hear lately, like a lot of people will tell me, like, "Oh, well, you don't look like a truck driver." I'm like, "What the fuck does a truck driver look like?" If you look at the internet now, every truck driver's got a weave down to her ass and a BBL and biker shorts. Like, so what the fuck does a truck driver look like?
Exactly. Yeah. Do you mind clarifying that stereotype, sir? Please.
It's just
Wait a
funny.
second. I think I could quote somebody on that when they ask you that. Your ass is fired.
You damn skippy. You tell them, little dub, your ass is
That's
fired.
right. That's right. Tell them.
I was like, yeah, like the industry has changed so much. You know what I'm saying? Like I've definitely enjoyed that part of the conversation, but now I want to get to some fun real quick. You said, now I mentioned in the intro, you said you were going to tell, you said my listeners and you said everybody watching how you can wash your butt with bacon. Because you said that seems like an interesting concept just in itself.
Okay. Well, here a couple of years ago, right at the beginning of the pandemic, Christy was the facility that my girl she's a nurse and has been a nurse for a long time. And the facility that she was working for just gave her outright release. Okay, now what? You got a pandemic. She's a healthcare worker and you can't get a job anywhere. So she reinvented herself and decided to start the Sudsy Wee Soap Company. And Christy is a phenomenally gifted, talented lady of many she's an old soul. One of the many reasons why I love her dearly, because she is gifted in so many different talents, and because she can just no fibs. She's giving me the business over here. Uh,
Hey,
but
Kristen, we love you.
and she one of the many things, she makes the homemade soap.
Mhm.
Well, when she and the Sudsy Wee is actually named after our dog. He's a little dachshund. His name's Bruno, but when you call him the Wee, he gets all excited and he starts running around. So that's where the name of the company, the Sudsy Wee, came from. Is our little wiener dog. So um, when she began the Sudsy Wee Soap Company, um, the fat that she used to make the soap was literally bacon fat, because I'm a fluffy guy, my blood type is bacon. We consume a lot of bacon in this house. So we would save the rendering,
Mhm.
filter it, and that was the base that she used to make all of her homemade soaps.
Okay.
So when she was creating her Facebook page and everything, getting the Sudsy Wee Soap Company off the ground, uh, she was like, "Well, I need some kind of a catchphrase or a slogan or something." I said, "Oh, honey, come on, this writes itself. Ask me how you can wash your butt with bacon." And she laughed, I laughed, and there it was. And so, um, all of her soaps that she makes they're all natural, with natural colors, natural ingredients, and they're amazing. We've been very blessed in marketing and selling a lot of that. Um, Unfortunately, things have kind of slowed down after the pandemic of ended. If you listen to
Yeah.
whatever, yeah, exactly. So things kind of slowed down, and after we moved into our new home, she hasn't been able to, focus as much on the soap business as she used to.
Mhm.
um, but she's still, it's all great stuff, and I know here very soon she's going to be relaunching a bunch of new things, so stay tuned. It's on Facebook, the Sudsy Wee Soap Company. uh, a big shout out to our big bros, Lex Vegas and Timbuktu. They're all the time giving us shout outs on their show. Much love to those guys. I crack up every time I hear Timbuktu go, Sansi Wee. He
Dude,
kills me with that.
I tell
Um,
him all the time that is like the highlight of this. When he says the Sudsy Wee and when he says the question at the end, that is like the hot and the man. These are like
yeah, yes, very much so. And definitely much love to Lex Vegas. We've been a sponsor of his show on Redline for quite a while, and he's another one of our family members. Just love him to death, and thank them so much for all that they've done in allowing us to sponsor their show, and all the great memories and everything that we've done with them. It's been a blessing. I love those guys. They're our brothers. And speaking of Timbuktu, I'm actually working on a skit with him that hopefully we'll be filming soon. I'm not going to give a lot of details, but I think it'll be pretty entertaining, and uh, I think that's going to be a lot of fun once we get it all together. I've been slowly kind of working on the ideas and starting to put them on paper. I've got a rough idea, but I don't want to start sending it to him yet until I'm really happy with where it's at, to where I think it'll be entertaining. But Timmy, he's such a fun spirit. I'm really
Mhm.
looking forward to working with him on this skit, and having some fun with it, and uh, uh, seeing that finished product in the end. I think it'll be very entertaining and fun.
Absolutely. And those who don't know, if you follow, you said Mark on especially Facebook or TikTok, or you said any of his social media, you said his one of his characters is Larry the Llama. Now,
Oh,
we've
geez,
got some
Larry the
stuff.
Llama.
We've got some stuff in the works with Lil Dub, Lil Lex, and Larry the Llama. Usually coming up here
Yes.
soon. Usually, we're working on some stuff right now. So this is not going to be the last time you see our brother Mark on the show, or you see Mark
Oh,
affiliated with That God Dub. I already know I'm affiliated with pretty much everybody's show. So like I'm gonna be around. Mark's around. Like I said, and then as far as with the Sudsy Weed, when it comes to their packaging, their professionalism, the expediency on getting the product to you, it's like they're literally second to none and unmatched. I will tell you from the horse's mouth, I've gotten product myself. It came extremely fast. It came packaged well. You saying like when it came to the tracking, they keep up with you until it gets to your doorstep. They're very hands-on when it comes to that. So if you guys want to wash your butt with bacon, I will make sure that I definitely leave all of that in the description box down below. Period. Full stop. I'm fully endorsing you guys, like 100%.
thank you. Thank you very much, Dub. That really means a lot. And yeah, we've shipped product pretty much everywhere here in the United States, and along with that, there's even been times that we've delivered it ourselves. We'll drive it right to the door. I know for a lot of our members of the wrestling family that patronize Sudsy, we catch them at the shows, and it's almost like it's almost we gotta push the cart in with all the soap orders. Here you go, here you go, here you go. But no, thank you very much, and thank you to everyone that has patronized the Sudsy Wee over the last couple of years. And like you said, stay tuned. There's more things to come very, very soon. Very soon.
Definitely. You said now, like you also not only with being a sponsor of the Lex Vegas show, you guys are also, like you said, at these events. You had a moment, and I'm trying to remember, was it if it was I Holla? It was one of the comedians, and because they spotted you out because you was like the biggest guy in the room, and you were like dead center, and like I can't. It was like the jokes had something to do about eating pussy. And we're just gonna put it like we're gonna keep it vague. And your comeback to her was so it made her like you saying like pause because it was just so off the cuff and hilarious. You said like with you being a ring announcer and you being you said in announcing at the racetrack, what gave you the sense the so to be so witty to be able to retort as quickly as you do?
I honestly don't know. I think where a lot of that just comes from is just life experience. Um, it just hits me directly in my head, and just right back to them. I'm not I'm not one to take being disrespected lightly, and I know sometimes I have the right to remain silent, but I do not have the ability at all. So, um, and especially like when at a wrestling show in particular, um, the people are there to be entertained. My job as the announcer is to engage the crowd, draw them in, and then when they're ready, turn it over to the talent and let the talent be the stars of the show that they are. And I really embrace that. And anytime that I get an opportunity where a fan chooses to engage me, I welcome it. I enjoy it, but I'm going to make it entertaining at their expense because, the real deal loves it when a fan wants to, involve themselves in the show. And, if you want the attention, I'm going to give it to you. But wait, there's more. So, I think because being a student of the business of pro wrestling, I have watched so many countless hours of tape. I have had the privilege of working with some infinitely talented people over so many years that I've just drawn bits and pieces from them and from those who have been tremendously successful within the business and had the privilege of learning from their experience and then kind of transposing that to myself anytime I have the privilege of working. Because really it's a privilege to work in the business, to be asked to be the mouthpiece for a promotion. It's a privilege and it's fun. um there's not many times that you're actually paid to come out and make people mad at you and get paid to do it. So it's fun. And I guess it's kind of a release in some ways,
Mhm.
a release of creativity, a release of just, getting to be that persona, albeit for that couple of hours, for the purpose of just being entertaining and entertaining the fans that paid their hard money to be there and watch you just straight act a fool. So it's a blessing. I don't do as much of that as I used to for a number of reasons now. Um, just because our life has taken a bit of a different direction, as far as our responsibilities, and also with some of the physical limitations that I still have, from the wreck from a couple of years ago. Um, sometimes it's difficult to do some of those things. That's one of the big reasons why I can't work at the racetrack anymore. The tower where I would announce from was 2.5 flights of stairs
Oh
to
man.
get to the top of the tower of the grandstands. With a numb right leg, you can't climb steps all night long. It's just not possible. I did the best I could, but unfortunately, it was time for a more physically able person to do that job and to take over for me. So, um, but anytime that I get a chance to work with, as a matter of fact, that's how I met Lex Vegas, was through wrestling and
Mhm.
guys like JD Smooth. Uh, JD, what a great, and he's a car guy too. We've actually run a couple of enduros together before I got hurt. Actually, there was one enduro in particular. It was myself, JD Smooth, and his 70-year-old dad.
Oh
We
wow.
had 3 cars that we took out to Painesville Speedway, and we ran a 200 lap enduro with the 3 of us. We called ourselves Team Pickhammer. And because JD Smooth, I'm not a hairy toothpick. There's the
Mhm.
pick. Well, and in the Derby world, I kind of got the nickname of the Hungarian Hammer, so we put it together, Team Pickhammer. And
Okay.
oh my gosh, we had so much fun and we destroyed those cars. Oh my god, my car finished, but it was a little worse for wear. But JD's car, yeah, it required the hook, and his dad's car, yeah, we loaded that thing in pieces.
Oh wow.
But oh, what fun! And but yeah, but I'm sorry, squirrel. But we just we were with the wrestling family. It's truly a lot of fun to. Anytime I get the nod to work a show, I embrace it. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I even have worked with micro wrestling. Uh,
Mhm.
what a talented group of folks they are.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
oh my gosh, oh, we tore the roof off that place that night. It was so loud. It packed 200 people inside of a brewery, serving them alcohol 3 hours prior to the show, and then
Uh-oh.
bring out the micro wrestling. Oh my gosh, it was deafening in there, but it was a great night.
That was like been crazy. It's like, dude, we have so many stories, and we could like literally we could 4, 5, 6 hours long. Using between the two of us,
Yes.
using the shit that we could talk about. You said, but we're definitely gonna have to have you back. Using because we glossed over a lot of stuff, and using so I definitely want to have you back because using like the conversation when me and you get to conversing, it's awesome. We both have a good time. Using it's fun. It's amazing. Using so I just asking here would say, would you be willing to do this again?
Oh, it would be my privilege to come back on. Thank you very much for having me on. And yes, I'd love to come back on and whatever you want to talk about, Dub. Sometimes you got to kind of get me back in the right direction because I get squirrel. But yeah, absolutely. I'd love to come back on, and thank you very much for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
Not a problem. Now, before we get up out of here, give everybody your social medias, how they can get in contact with you.
Sure. The Sudsy Wee Soap Company. We're on Facebook. Just go, just type it into the search. The Sudsy Wee Soap Company. All of the products are listed right on there. You can just write in through your messenger and place your order, and Christy will see it and gladly fill anything. You had talked about Larry the llama. That actually started as nothing more than just a crocheted toy that Christy made as a emotional support animal. But he kind of took on a personality and a persona out in the truck. So he actually has his own Facebook page. Yes, a stuffed animal has a Facebook page. But he'll post a video on there from time to time. And other than that, just I really don't have. Well, come to think of it, I do have a TikTok page. I really haven't been able to do a lot with that. There's a few things that are on there, but that's under the Real Deal 176. Mm-hmm. That's on TikTok as well, along with just my regular name on Facebook.
Okay, with all that being said, if you guys like this video, make sure you smash that like button, turn on that bell notification so you don't miss another video. Now, without further ado, I love you. The Real Deal Marcus O'Neal loves you. Little Dub loves you. We out of here, man. Peace.
Much love, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dub.
Thank you, brother.
The boy Dub Deuce in the building.